I knew about this situation since a month ago. A pretty easy level by Codex was a hot topic of Geometry Dash the day his level got daily and featured in the game. It was controversial not only for its gameplay, decorations, and what it got rated with, but also how it caused a 9-year-long player named PG1004 to quit playing the game. In fact, he was evidently in the spotlight during that day. I will talk about a few of the comments PG1004 made, starting with these two. Rating on level of the person you're close to is a very fast system that's disgusting. Rob Top, your game is fun, but game management has already failed a long time ago. I'm not precisely sure what he meant by the first sentence, but my guess is Codex's level was rated because of nepotism and his high reputation. Nepotism is basically favoritism where people give special treatment to their friends, family, and associates. Codex is a well-known creator with over 80 points, and that is far more than what the average Joe has in their stats. 80 creator points is a lot, enough to make one more likely to be well known in the community. He has been in famous mega collabs like Artificial Ascent and Digital Descent. With regard to PG1004's statement, I can't say for sure with full certainty that Codex's level was given daily and rated as a result of nepotism, but throughout Geometry Dash history, the game management had been evidently documented of nepotism. For example, levels made by other players appear less likely to get daily as seen in how popular creators like Danolex, Nemzi, and Robot Chief appear to have their levels get daily more often. I am personally all for fairness because I value everyone's efforts objectively and not subject myself to other forms of bias like selection and confounding biases. For example, I value someone else's efforts fair and square and never value more than just because they are my friend whatsoever. I feel that Codex's level should not have gotten a featured because it is way too basic and simple while other creators in the creating sphere have ironically better levels but are still overlooked, or only given a rate or not given daily. By this logic, if Codex's level was given a daily, then everything should be standardized to ensure fairness. If the standards keep hopping, it becomes unfair. And I think nepotism is one big reason why the standards keep hopping as mentioned earlier about popularity and the chances of getting daily. I will say the current management is wrong and needs to be amended. The following reasons are why I favor fairness over nepotism. So the first reason is valuing efforts to fulfill social needs via the creator points. Well, every one of us are human beings. The vast majority of us have some extent of social needs, which has been well documented over the scientific community around the world. We want to feel like we belong in a community. Maybe Geometry Dash is one of those communities some people want to be belonged to. Maybe it's because they can't find any other communities to be belonged to. If the game doesn't appreciate the efforts people make to be included by overlooking them and favoriting the same people over and over again, it doesn't retain its player base as well as it could have been. The creator point system, albeit not the best, serves as some form of incentive motivation for recognition of efforts. There are certainly options being thrown everywhere relating to how players shouldn't create to farm creator points, but rather for their own enjoyment. I do agree with this, and I really do, because it is a valid point. However, where I do not agree is where the point overlooks the impact of creator points. As mentioned earlier, it can serve as some form of incentive motivation. Someone may not be well versed in the art and decide to push themselves further and beyond their current capabilities, but end up quitting the game because all the levels they are given recognition are of fluctuating qualities from garbage to masterpieces. And what's more often than not, levels that are of lower quality and given daily are more often made by popular creators. It would make sense why a person would quit when their efforts are not recognized. And that also brings me to my next point, which is the long-term benefit for the success of Geometry Dash. I'm not related to Rob Top in any way, but this is certainly a valid point that I want to address because it can be a reason to combat against nepotism. I'm not quite sure that Rob Top wants Geometry Dash to keep succeeding because who wouldn't do that if their game is so popular? As much as a troll that I understand Rob Top is, I feel that he still needs to recognize the problem of nepotism in the game and ensure that people are treated with equity. Otherwise, as mentioned earlier, more people will likely quit like PG1004, which could have likely served for the better good of the game in the future. Now I will move on to the next comment, which is about bad gameplay. PG stated, at least the gameplay should be good, but it's not. I'm really going to stop playing this trash game. Honestly, I think that it is unusual PG was so fed up with the gameplay. The thing I see is that it isn't that bad. There are more levels that have worse gameplay than Codex's one. In entirety, my opinion is that the gameplay of featured levels is mostly bad because my standards have drastically increased to include additional elements like song expression, execution, playability, and fairness. Most of the general community care about sight readability and fun, and I don't blame them, because simple gameplay to enjoy and not think so much on is nothing wrong. Other than a few dumb timings in Codex's level, I would say that his level is the same as every other featured level, like most of it. I have no other comments because if I were to talk about other elements of gameplay, it will be an entirely new video because there's a lot to talk about. So in conclusion, in a nutshell, my view on the PG1004 situation is that I agree that the game management is poor and could be improved, and that creator points are a valid form of incentive for creating despite the general consensus. The problem that must be improved is battling nepotism to ensure fairness for everyone. In Rob Top's perspective, if he wants to further succeed in his game, which I'm sure he does, the health of the community must be considered because it is very important for long-term success. Also, in a nutshell, I'm very indifferent towards the gameplay.